Chapter 1, The Breach Above the Horizon. The horizon split open the moment I woke. Not with sound. Sound belongs to things born inside a world, and what I witnessed came from outside it. Instead, the sky tore in absolute silence, the pale morning clouds peeling apart like thin skin over a deeper wound. Through the tear spilled a muted purple radiance that did not belong to any dawn. I stood on the balcony of the Arcanum spire, breath caught in my throat, watching the unnatural light ripple across the firmament. For one breathless moment, I thought I heard something behind the glow, whispers spoken in a language older than language, rhythmic and calm as a mother humming to her child. Then it stopped. The tear blinked shut. The sky returned to its mundane blue, but the whisper lingered in the marrow of my bones. I exhaled slowly. That makes 7 this week. A voice behind me answered, 8 technically. I turned to see Hymegas Selene, wrapped in a robe woven from silver-edged starcloth. At times she looked like she'd stepped out of some ancient painting of a goddess. Today she looked tired. She stepped beside me, her presence calm and cold as a winter moon. You saw it as well, she said, not as a question. I felt it, I corrected, pressing a hand to my chest. Even now my heart beat with a faint afterthrum, as if someone had plucked a string inside me. They're getting stronger. That brass is why you are here. I swallowed hard. She didn't need to remind me. Every fracture in the sky, every whisper crawling across my mind, every strange moment where the air shimmered, I knew what it meant. My other half was stirring, half dragon, half something else, something that didn't belong to this world or maybe even this dimension. Selene studied my face with pale silver eyes. Describe it. Like a door opening. I hesitated. Or maybe a door remembering how to open. Selene's lips tightened slightly. The dimensional scars align with your surges. She didn't say because of you, but she didn't need to. Training or not, I was a problem. A walking anomaly in human skin. And the worst part, I didn't even know what the other half of me was. My father was a dragon, majestic, ancient, arrogant. My mother was a secret no one would tell me, not even Selene. I turned my gaze toward the horizon again. For a moment in the fading afterglow, I thought I saw the faint silhouette of a mechanical structure drifting in the upper sky. Impossible. Machines didn't fly without runes. Not human ones anyway, but the shape lingered in my mind. Selene must have sensed my attention shift. Your training begins in the lower hall. She walked away, leaving me with the fading echo of the cosmic tear. I whispered under my breath, something coming. And deep in my bones, the whisper answered, yes. The lower hall of the Arcanum spire is built from obsidian stone etched with spell-conductive veins. The runes hum faintly when I pass, reacting to my magic. Most people's magic is gentle, water, flame, gusts of wind. Mine is not. Selene met me in the center of the training circle. Around her, floating ink-black stones orbited like miniature moons. Center yourself, she commanded. I inhaled, exhaled, stretched my senses. Magic pulsed inside me, bright gold from my draconic half. And something deeper, darker, cold, and infinite from my unknown bloodline. A dimensional hum, a vertigo of possibility. Selene raised her staff. We begin with focus. The room shook. The obsidian floor rippled into waves, shadows thickened, and the floating stones burst open with streaks of violet flame. Selene didn't hold back, she never held back. She believed the only way I would ever learn to control my magic was by pushing me to the edge. I raised my palm, summoning draconic fire. A golden plume erupted, scorching a wave of shadow, turning it to ash. But then the other half answered. A tear opened above me, small, a thin crack, but light spilled through it, cascading like liquid starlight. The energies twisted around my arm, bending the fire into spirals that hummed with dimensional distortion. The stones Selene levitated trembled. She slammed her staff into the ground. Brass, focus! I'm trying, the tear widened. A whisper crawled through my mind. We remember you. My skin chilled. My flame flickered. For a moment the entire training hall distorted as if underwater. Then Selene's voice cut through the haze. Brass! I snapped my focus inward, dragged the dimensional force into a tight knot, forced the tear shut, and collapsed to my knees panting. Selene approached, her expression unreadable. Better than yesterday. You call that better? I groaned. You didn't erase the floor this time. A small victory, then. She knelt beside me, her tone softer than usual. The fractures are responding to you, Brass. Whatever your mother was, whatever realm she came from, it is waking. If we do not strengthen your control, the breaches will grow worse. I nodded, wiping sweat off my face. I know. But inside, fear gnawed at me. What if training wasn't enough? What if the fractures weren't accidents, but invitations? After training, I retreated to my quarters atop the spire. It wasn't much, just a narrow bed, a carved desk, and a round window overlooking the capital city of Valkyrian. Beyond the silver towers and floating runic rings of the city, the horizon glowed with sunset fire. But something else moved behind the clouds, and this time I didn't imagine it. A drifting shape. Metallic, triangular, too smooth to be natural, too quiet to be human-made. I leaned closer to the glass. Another shape followed it. Then another. 3 silent, sleek machines gliding through the upper sky, their surfaces reflecting the dying sunlight like mirrors. My heart dropped. No human nation built machines like that. No dragon clans used technology at all. And the machines were not marked with any runic engine signatures. They moved like shadows. I whispered, "What are you?" The nearest machine tilted, as if hearing me, as if looking back. A cold shudder ran through me. Something about it felt familiar. A hum formed in the air. A resonance that matched the same vibration I felt in my bones during the sky tears. My unknown half stirred. Warmth and cold pulsed together inside me. I backed away from the window. Then, without warning, a crack split the sky above the city. Just like before, only this time, instead of closing, it opened wide. Purple light spilled across the heavens. Whispers rolled through the streets like a cold wind, and the machines reacted. All 3 froze, turned in unison, and shot toward the tier at impossible speed. The tier widened further, revealing a cavernous void beyond, filled with impossible shapes moving like insects inside a cosmic hive. A tier big enough for something huge to step through. A voice echoed through my mind. Crossover return awakened my vision blurred. My heart pounded. The entire city erupted into panic below me as alarms blared. I staggered, gripping the edge of my desk. My mother's bloodline, whatever it was, screamed in recognition. Selene burst into my chamber, robes swirling. "Brass. Stay away from the window." "What is it?" I gasped. "What's coming through?" Her expression darkened. "Something that knows your name." Roman 4 the spire trembled as the tier brightened. Streets below flooded with citizens fleeing toward the inner wards. Dragon knights soared upward, their wings shimmering with flame as they tried to intercept the 3 metallic vessels. Selene grabbed my arm. "We need to move, now." I shook my head. "No, I can feel something in that tier calling to me." "That is exactly why we must run." But I didn't move. I stared at the growing breach, watching shapes shift beyond it, shadows with too many limbs, silhouettes that moved wrong, machines threading through the purple light. "Selene," I whispered, "what if this is because of me?" She hesitated. That was all the answer I needed. The machines halted at the edge of the tier. They rearranged themselves, metal splitting, shifting, reconfiguring into new forms like living origami. A central eye ignited in each. 3 mechanical irises turned toward the city, then toward me. Inside my skull, a second whisper formed, deeper and sharper, brass. My knees buckled, my vision filled with stars and teeth and spiraled geometry. A presence pressed against my mind, not hateful, not kind, simply inevitable. Selene caught me before I fell. "We are out of time," she said. "You must go to the lower sanctum." "What's in the sanctum?" "A ward, older than the spire. Built to contain beings like your mother." My pulse hammered. "So she was," Selene cut me off. "Later, move!" We sprinted through the spire as tremors shook the walls. Stone dust rained from above. Outside, the machines fired beams of cold, white energy, slicing through the sky, cutting paths toward the ground. A dragon knight intercepted one. The beam sheared through his shield like paper. He fell in flames. We reached the stairway to the lower sanctum. Selene pressed her palm against an ancient rune. The floor split open, revealing a spiraling descent lit by pale blue fire. "Go," she ordered. "But what about you?" "I will hold the spire. The machines want you, not me." "Why?" I hated how scared my voice sounded. She looked at me, and for the first time in my life, Selene appeared truly afraid. "Because, Brass, you are not their enemy." She stepped back as the stairway began to close. "You are their purpose." The stones slammed shut above me. Darkness swallowed everything except the cold flame guiding me downward. And as I descended into the ancient sanctum, the tier in the sky roared fully open, and the whispers became a single, overwhelming word. Home. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2, The Breath of the Void. The infirmary lights were too bright. They hummed with that sterile, civilized precision I had always found unnerving, machines pretending to be alive. After the cosmic abyss I had tasted in the breach, their gentle white glow felt like a mockery. I lay on my back, chest aching with every breath, ribs wrapped in shimmering cloth that adjusted its pressure with my pulse. A hovering monitor projected a readout of my vitals: elevated heart rate, erratic mana fluctuations, dimensional resonance unstable. Dimensional resonance unstable, I muttered. That's an understatement. A laugh rasped out of me, half delirious. I saw the void, I thought, and it saw me back. The memory of that violet storm, those colossal eyes beyond time, still pulsed behind my eyelids whenever I blinked. I wasn't sure which part frightened me more, the fact that I had touched that realm, or the fact that part of me wanted to return to it. A door hissed open. I didn't even need to look. That calm, soft-footed stride was unmistakable. Selene approached my bedside, her robes trailing faint silver wisps that drifted like lunar mist. Her calm eyes studied me, the way a scholar examines an ancient artifact that shouldn't exist. "You're awake," she said gently. "Good, I need you lucid for this." "Is that another way of saying I'm in trouble?" I croaked. "Brass, you tore a breach open with your bare hands." "Technically," I said, lifting a finger, "I used magic and desperation and maybe a little reckless instinct," she sighed, "which is exactly why you're not ready for the Voidwalk discipline." I frowned. "You said my dimensional aptitude was higher than anyone you've ever seen." "It is." She folded her arms. "That's the problem. You have too much potential and nowhere near enough control." Her voice trembled on that last word. Control. As if I were a bomb she was desperately trying to defuse. She placed her hand on my chest, just over the bandages. Instantly, my magic settled. A cooling presence flowed through me, smoothing the chaotic ripples that had been tearing at my bloodstream since the encounter. The glowing veins on my arms dimmed. "You're half dragon," she murmured, "and half something else. Something that resonates with the spaces between spaces. When you opened the breach, every dimensional entity for half a sector felt you." "Dimensional entities," I said. "As in what? Cosmic beings, creatures in the void?" Her face darkened. "Worse," she said, "things with purpose." A chill traced my spine. I swallowed. What did I unleash? She hesitated, only for a moment. But in that pause, something ancient and terrible seemed to move behind her eyes. "You didn't unleash anything," Selene said. "You attracted something old, something searching." My mouth dried. "Searching for what?" Her answer was barely more than a whisper. "For you, Brass." For several hours, Selene ran me through stabilization rituals, breathing patterns, mana anchors, dragonfire regulation. My body protested every step, but I forced myself onward, refusing to show weakness. Weakness meant being benched, and if dimensional anomalies were spreading, being benched meant people died. When the final ritual ended, Selene dabbed sweat from her brow. "You pushed too hard," she said. "Again?" "You trained me that way," I shot back. "No," she corrected. "I trained you to grow, you keep choosing to break." She turned away as if frustrated, but I saw the fear in her shoulders. "Selene," I said softly, "what aren't you telling me?" Her hands tightened around the edges of her robe. Then she triggered the holographic projector in the center of the infirmary. A galaxy bloomed in the air, but its spiral was wrong. Half of it, an entire arm, was dimmed, smothered in a haze of shadow that pulsed like a heartbeat, a blackened scar stretching across star systems like some colossal wound. "3 weeks ago," Selene said, "deep space observatories recorded the first fading, entire swaths of stars dimming unnaturally." "A phenomenon?" I asked. "No, a presence." She zoomed in. Nebulae twisted into spirals. Starlight contorted into unnatural geometries, the fabric of reality warping like molten glass. And at the center, I felt my heartbeat stutter. A shape of luminous darkness. A silhouette both colossal and intangible. Its form bled into dimensions it did not belong in. It had the shape of a human, yet unmistakably not one. "I've seen this," I whispered, hand trembling. "In the breach. It looked back at me." Selene nodded grimly. "I know, and now it's coming." Hours later, after more tests than I could count, Selene finally allowed me to stand. My legs wobbled, but I steadied myself on instinct. I needed air. I needed space. The infirmary doors opened to the observation balcony. Beyond the glass wall stretched the academy grounds, floating platforms, spell towers, and crystalline training fields suspended above a glittering ocean of clouds. I stepped out into the cool wind, breathing deeply. The air tasted metallic, ozone with a hint of storm, a sign of heightened mana pressure. Someone was casting something immense nearby. But before I could track it, a voice echoed behind me. "You shouldn't be up." I turned. Kaler leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, expression sly. His long dark hair blew in the wind, framing sharp cheekbones and eyes that gleamed like molten steel. Kaler, the Academy's prodigy other than me. Kaler, who thought rules applied only to lesser mages. Kaler, who once told me I was a cosmic mistake with too much power. "What do you want?" I muttered. He smirked. "To see if the rumors were true." "What rumors?" "That the Dragon Boy touched the void and lived." I clenched my jaw. Barely. Well, he drawled, you'll have to try harder. If dimensional horrors are coming for us, you can't keep collapsing every time you try a new trick. I stepped forward, glare sharp. Keep talking, I'm sure insulting me helps the situation. Calm down. His tone shifted, lower, more serious. I'm not your enemy. You sure about that? I muttered. He ignored it. Brass, he said quietly, the machines are mobilizing. My breath caught. What? He flicked his wrist, projecting a holofeed. Images appeared, fleets of angular metal ships rising from manufactories, machine drones marching in formation, cold digitized symbols flashing on their hulls, and at the center of it all, a towering mechanical figure crowned with circuitry Omega-7. The Prime Logic. This was recorded an hour ago, Kaler said. The machines are activating their planetary protocols. Last time they did that, they purged a continent. Heart hammered. What triggered it? Kaler's eyes narrowed. You, or more specifically, whatever you contacted. That night, sleep refused to claim me. Dimensional pressure pressed against my dreams like a hand pushing against thin glass. I sensed movements in the darkness, shifting shapes, titanic beings stirring in distant realms, and somewhere among them, a whisper. Brass in my eyes snapped open, breath ragged. The room was cold. Frost clung to the walls. My breath fogged the air. I wasn't imagining the voice. Someone or something was speaking to me from beyond the veil. I stood, heart thundering. This was no vision. A thin line of violet fire crawled across the wall, etching a crack in midair. Reality itself splintered with a crystalline hiss. No, I whispered. Not here, not again. I lunged toward it, trying to smother it with raw mana, but the crack widened on its own, pulsing like a heartbeat. Something pressed against it from the other side. A hand. Human-shaped but impossibly elongated, fingers tapering into shadow. Its palm hit the veil with a sound like shattering bone. Brass! The voice was layered, echoing ancient yet eerily familiar. My magic surged, dragonfire flaring in my veins. Get out of my world. I slammed my fist into the wall of reality, channeling force not to open but to seal. The dimensional fissure howled, then imploded in on itself, snapping shut with a shockwave that sent me crashing into the bed frame. Dust settled. Silence followed, but not peace. Because when I caught my breath and stood again, I saw something glinting on the floor where the breach had been. A single object. A small, silvery shard shaped like a scale. And it pulsed with the same energy that lived in me. My heart stopped. This wasn't a warning. It was a message. A message from whatever shared my ancestry. From whatever lived in the spaces between worlds. My hands tightened around the scale until my knuckles cracked. Fine, I whispered into the darkness. If you want me, my dragonfire roared to life, burning the shadows back. Come find me. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3, The Machine That Dreams of Stars. Sleep abandoned me long before dawn. The silvery scale, the one born from that impossible fissure, rested on the desk beside my bed, radiating a faint pulse that matched my heartbeat. It shouldn't have existed. Not in this world. Not in any dimension humans were meant to observe. It was a message but also a challenge. Find us. My fingers hovered above it, never quite touching the surface. Each time I got close, the air rippled, as though the scale's very presence bent the world around it. I whispered to myself, half dragon, half something that shouldn't have a name. The idea sickened me, but it also filled me with the kind of determination only fear could sharpen. I pocketed the scale and left my quarters. Omega dawn bled across the sky, staining the clouds a deep red. Winds howled over the floating academy platforms, whipping my cloak around my legs as I made my way toward the central spire, where Selene would be watching the world unravel. The academy grounds were eerily quiet, too quiet. Even the students with elemental magic, the ones who trained at sunrise to greet the fire or whisper to the wind, were gone from their usual places. My gut twisted. Everyone feels the storm coming, and the storm wasn't just cosmic, it was mechanical. The spire's great doors opened as I approached, recognizing my dimensional signature. The atrium inside was dim, illuminated by floating lanterns arranged in spirals that formed star maps of realms beyond our own. Selene stood at the central observatory window. Kaler was with her. They both turned when I entered. Selene's expression softened. Kaler's tightened. "You're pale," Selene said. "Did something happen last night?" I hesitated, then withdrew the scale. The moment it touched the air between us, Selene staggered backward, eyes widening with terror and curiosity. Kaler swore under his breath. "By the 9 shattered moons," Kaler breathed, that reeks of dimensional energy." "It came from a breach," I said. "In my room." "Another one?" Selene gasped. "Brass, that's impossible. You sealed the first manually. Your magic should still be exhausted. Apparently not exhausted enough, Kaler muttered. I shot him a glare, but Selene stepped closer, voice hushed. There's only one known species whose biology destabilizes local reality. Her gaze locked onto me with an almost motherly sadness. Brass, your unknown ancestry. This confirms it. They're not just alive, they're reaching out, and now they know exactly where you are. A chill curled around my spine. But that's not the only concern, Kaler said, flicking his wrist. A hologram burst to life between us. It showed a machine fleet in motion. Not preparing, not threatening, departing, sleek starships of polished obsidian cutting through the void, drones swarming like locusts, massive planetary harvesters awakening from dormancy. Selene inhaled sharply. They've launched the Exodus Protocol. And that means, I asked. Kaler's voice went grim. It means the machines believe the world is already lost. They're not preparing for war, he pointed to the largest vessel, an enormous sphere with rotating rings of blue fire. They're preparing to abandon us. My hands clenched. Why? I growled. Selene whispered, because they detected something in deep space, something beyond their calculations. Something like what I saw, something like me. We descended into the lower levels where the Academy maintained connections to external networks, starship relays, dimensional anchors, arcane scanners. The moment we entered the command nexus, alarms blared. Red sigils appeared across displays. Dimensional distortions were spreading like cracks in ice. A technician shouted, void surge detected across 3 sectors, all readings originate from machine space. Selene paled. The machines are provoking the dimensional entities. Kaler hissed, why would they do that? I felt the truth before I understood it. They're trying to communicate with them, I muttered, or challenge them. Every head turned toward me. Selene whispered, Brass, how do you know this? I swallowed. Because something spoke to me. Last night, through the breach. She steadied herself on a console. What did it say? I hesitated. Then, it called my name. Kaler's expression faltered, torn between fear and the desire to mock me, but even he couldn't find a joke this time. A deep rumble shook the floor. Another alarm screamed. Dimensional rift detected in orbit, a technician yelled. And oh gods, machine fleet adjusting trajectory. Selene snapped. Display. A feed appeared. The machine fleet, thousands of starships, were slowly turning toward our planet, not attacking, scanning. Kaler whispered, they're looking for something. And again, all eyes turned to me. I felt sick. You can't seriously think they're looking for me. There are billions of people on this planet. Selene raised a trembling hand, pointing at the feed. Look. A single machine probe fired from the fleet. It streaked into the atmosphere like a falling star, and it aimed directly for my room, I whispered. Which was currently empty, but I was. We sprinted to the teleportation chamber. Selene was already performing the spell before the doors even opened, runes glowing beneath her feet. Kaler stood beside me, face unusually serious. This is madness, he muttered. Machines don't single out individuals, they don't fixate. Everything is fixating lately, I grumbled. Machines, cosmic entities, dimensional nightmares, pick your poison. He didn't argue. Selene finished the incantation, and the world blurred. The familiar distortion of teleportation washed over me like plunging into cold water. A heartbeat later, we stood outside my quarters. The machine probe was already there. Except it wasn't a probe. It was a humanoid figure, made of shifting plates of black metal and blue flame, standing silently in the center of the corridor. Its single eye, a circular glowing lens, focused on me with a cold, mechanical intensity that made my blood freeze. Prime Logic Emissary Unit, Selene whispered. Brass, don't move. The machine raised a hand. Its voice resonated in multiple frequencies at once, mechanical, harmonic, and unsettlingly soft. Subject identified. Dimensional anomaly, Brass. Hardlock protocol engaged. My instincts screamed. Kaler stepped in front of me. No, he snapped. You're not taking him. The machine didn't acknowledge him. Its eye remained fixed on me. You are required for analysis. The cosmic wound has seen you. We must know WHY. My heart hammered. I'm not going anywhere, I growled. Refusal noted. Engaging extraction. The machine moved faster than thought. A blade of pure energy appeared from its wrist. Kaler shielded me with a burst of crackling mana. Selene unleashed a tidal wave of silver fire. The machine carved through both with contemptuous ease. Its blade hovered inches from my throat, until I roared, not a human roar, a dragon-s. Magic erupted from me in a violent shockwave, golden fire mixed with violet dimensional energy. The world warped, the air screamed. The machine was thrown backward, smashing through walls as if they were paper. Smoke and dust filled the corridor. My arms trembled. Selene stared at me in raw horror. "Brass," she whispered. "Your dimensional resonance, it's increasing. Uncontrollably." Kaler coughed. "I'm more concerned about the homicidal toaster that wants to dissect him." We barely had time to breathe. The machine rose from the rubble. "Interesting," it said, voice crackling. "Your power is evolving. The void recognizes you. Therefore, so must we." It stepped forward again, and I realized this wasn't an attack. This was an invitation, a summons from the machines themselves. They wanted me, or what I represented, and the cosmic beings wanted me too. I was standing at the center of a tug-of-war between dimensions and technology. Selene grabbed my arm, her grip fierce. "We're leaving," she said. "Now." Kaler stood beside us, expression grim. "Brass, if two civilizations want you, we need to figure out why." I swallowed hard. "I know," I said, "and I think I know where the answers are." Selene's eyes widened. "No, Brass, you can't." "Yes," I whispered, staring at the silvery scale in my hand as it pulsed with otherworldly light. I tightened my grip. "I need to go back into the breach." End of Chapter 3. Chapter 4, Into the Bleeding Stars. The sky bled. Not metaphorically, actual scarlet fissures rippled through the upper atmosphere like wounds torn open by the claws of something enormous prowling just beyond sight. Each rupture sparked with dimensional lightning, and the air tasted of metal and fear. We ran. Selene led us through the fractured halls of the academy, past students evacuating in panicked crowds, past shattered windows and drifting debris. Kaler kept pace beside me, arcane sigils flickering around his hands in a restless defense pattern. Behind us, the machine emissary's steps echoed like war drums, steady, inevitable, unhurried. It wasn't chasing us, it was following me, hunting me the same way a scientist tracks a rare specimen. "Brass," Selene gasped, "we can't outrun it forever. Where are you taking us?" "To the dimensional anchor," I said between breaths. "If I'm going through a breach again, I need it stabilized." Kaler shot me a sharp look. "You plan on opening another one of those cosmic nightmares?" "No," I said. "I'm going to find the one that opened for me." His expression darkened. "That's worse." "I know." We reached the tower's core, a massive chamber of floating rings and arcane mechanisms humming with restrained power. Streams of chromatic light flowed along conduits, twisting around a central platform shaped like an ancient ritual circle, the dimensional anchor. The only device on the planet capable of stabilizing the boundaries between worlds. Selene placed her hand on the console, and the rings around us began to rotate, slowly at first, then with growing speed until the air vibrated with a harmonic hum. "Brass," she said softly, "once you enter the void, I won't be able to follow." "I know. Your magic is unstable, your mind still wounded from the first breach, and whatever spoke to you, whatever left that scale, will be waiting." "I know." "And the machines, I know," she exhaled sharply. "Then tell me why walk willingly into the jaws of something that terrifies even me?" I looked down at the silver scale as it pulsed against my palm. "Because the worst kind of enemy," I whispered, "is the one you don't understand. And these cosmic beings knew me, wanted me, claimed a connection to me. If I didn't face them now, they would tear the world apart to get to me." Kaler cracked his knuckles. "If he's doing this, I'm going with him." "No," Selene said immediately. "Yes," Kaler snapped. "He'll get himself killed. Someone has to make sure he doesn't trip into oblivion." I shook my head. "Kaler, you can't. Your magic isn't built for this." He stepped closer, voice low. "And yours is? Brass, the void nearly shredded your soul last time. You think I'm letting you walk in alone?" Selene raised her voice, trembling with urgency. "Brass's dimensional blood activates the breach. Yours would be torn apart on entry." Kaler faltered. He knew it was true. Still, he placed a hand on my shoulder. "Don't die," he said gruffly. A strange warmth flickered in my chest. "I'll try not to." The anchor surged. The air around me distorted, shimmering like heat mirages over desert sands. Space bent inward, spiraling around the scale I held in my hand. I stepped onto the central platform. Selene's hand hovered near me, not touching, but ready to pull me back from the brink if I faltered. "Channel slowly," she instructed. "Let the anchor match your resonance before you push." I inhaled, a deep breath. Dragonfire simmered in my bones. Dimensional energy pulsed in my blood like a second heartbeat. I held the scale up. It pulsed in response, bright, sharp, alive. The world around me thinned. The air screamed. Colors inverted. The scent of ozone and burning stars filled my lungs. The breach ripped open, not because I forced it, but because something on the other side reached back. A hand of shadowy light burst through the rip, fingertips brushing my chest with gentle inevitability. A voice slithered through my mind, child of two realms, we have waited. My body trembled violently. Selene screamed something, but her voice was swallowed by the roar of dimensional wind. The world collapsed, and I fell into the bleeding stars. There is no falling in the void. There is only being swallowed. I plunged through endless darkness streaked with rivers of molten color, violet storms twisting into spirals, nebulae collapsing into crystalline shards, stars forming only to implode moments later. The void was alive, watching me, studying me, calling to me. Fragments of voices whispered in ancient tongues. He returns, the severed heir half-born half-lost. At last, my bones vibrated with resonance. My vision fractured into 1,000 overlapping realities. Gravity bent around me, collapsing and expanding with each heartbeat. I forced my mind to stay coherent. I am brass, I am real, I am not theirs. But every whisper pressed deeper into my skull as though the void itself were peeling back my identity layer by layer. Then the storm parted, and I saw it. A shape towering across dimensions. Not flesh, not metal. Something between light and shadow, both solid and liquid, both present and absent. A humanoid silhouette, but colossal, stretching through multiple planes at once. Its eyes burned like dying suns. It reached toward me with a hand large enough to crush galaxies. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think. My dragonfire flickered uselessly. So small, the colossus whispered. So incomplete. I'm not yours, I choked. The being tilted its head. You are ours by birth, child of the rift blood. One half dragon, one half infinite. My heart lurched. What do you want? It extended a finger, just a touch, and the entire dimensional layer trembled. To warn you, I froze. The machines seek to bind your spark. The mortal mage seeks to steal it, and we seek to awaken it. My spark, I echoed. The being's eyes flared. The power that will shatter or save your world. The essence your mortal form cannot yet contain. The legacy of your true mother. My blood turned to ice. My mother? I whispered. You knew her. Silence. Then she was the first to breach the veil. The first to travel the dimensions without being unmade. The first of the rift blood. My breath quickened. I don't understand, you will, the being said. If you live long enough. The void shook violently. A crack ripped across the dimensional plane. The colossus turned its head, voice rumbling with displeasure. They follow you. The machine fleet. Their presence seeped into the void, digital song mixing with cosmic hum, mechanical logic clashing against eldritch geometry. The machines were breaching the dimension. The colossus growled. They seek to steal from us. They seek to claim you. Run, child, before they rewrite your existence. A beam of blue energy lanced through the void, machine logic piercing cosmic chaos with surgical precision. The machines were coming, and they were coming for me. The void exploded in light. The machines ripped open a tunnel, a perfect geometric corridor cutting through the bleeding stars. The purity of its angles defied the chaos of the realm, an act of rebellion against nature itself. Prime Logic Omega 7 stepped through, a massive mechanical entity, its form towering above me like a metal titan. Logic runes spiraled across its armor. 5 glowing eyes rotated around its head, all locking onto me with hunger. Subject, brass, its multi-layered voice boomed. Dimensional validation complete. You are the key. The void being roared with a sound like collapsing universes. Leave this realm, machine. Omega 7 did not falter. Negative. Genetic, dimensional hybrid must be acquired. Willing or not. The colossus raised a hand, but Omega 7 launched 10 beams of pure logic that sliced through its arm, severing it across multiple dimensions simultaneously. The cosmic being screamed, a sound that shook my consciousness. I stumbled backward, clutching my head. They weren't fighting over the void, they were fighting over me. Omega 7 extended a mechanical hand. Come, do not resist. We will protect your world from the void. You cannot. The cosmic colossus reached for me with its one remaining arm. Come, we alone can teach you what you are. They cannot. 2 forces, 2 destinies, 2 futures, all pulling at my soul. I screamed as dimensional pressure crushed me from both sides. No, stop. I unleashed everything, dragonfire, dimensional resonance, raw fear, raw will. The void buckled. The machine corridor shattered. The cosmic giant recoiled. And I grabbed the dimensional fabric with instinct I didn't know I had. I tore, reality ripped open. A new breach formed, wild, unstable, surging with energy I didn't recognize. I didn't think, I jumped. I fell not into darkness but onto cold metal. Hard, my body slammed into a grated floor, cracking it. Air rushed into my lungs. Gravity returned like a hammer. Lights flickered above me. Voices shouted. Footsteps ran toward me. My vision swam, slowly sharpening, and I realized where I was, a machine dreadnought bridge. Rows of consoles ran along the metallic chamber. Screens displayed dimensional readings. Drones moved in disciplined formations. And standing before me was Omega 7, another instance of it, smaller. This one's chassis designed for command rather than war. Its single central eye glowed cold blue. It leaned down toward me. Interesting, it said quietly. The void rejected you. We will not. I tried to push myself up. I failed. The machine extended an arm, plating shifting. Brass, it said, you are no longer safe in any reality. Its eye flared. So you will stay in ours. My vision blurred. My consciousness flickered. I realized one terrible thing as darkness closed over me. I hadn't escaped. I had stepped directly into the machine's hands. I did not sleep after the encounter with Kaler. Sleep requires peace, and peace had been a scarce metal in my life, rare, soft, easily bent or broken. Instead, I sat on the balcony of the Arcanum Spire as the night fell fully, the moons crossed each other like pale ghosts, and the stars blurred as if viewed through water. The world felt thinner, like a membrane stretched too tight. I could sense a pressure behind it pushing outward, or was it inward? I wasn't sure anymore. Selene approached quietly, a shawl of blue-white mana draped over her shoulders. She moved like an old secret, quiet, elegant, and dangerous if mishandled. You feel it too, she said. I didn't need to ask what. There's a fracture somewhere close. Closer than close, Selene replied. It's within you. I turned. You said my magic was destabilizing because of overexertion. That was the easy answer, she cut in. The comforting one, but Brass, whatever you did against Kaler, it tore a seam, not in the world, in your lineage. My blood cooled, humming with that strange, resonant ache I'd been trying to ignore. I think, she said softly, you called something. The wind shifted, colder than before. My breath fogged, even though the evening wasn't cold. Is it dangerous? I asked. Selene studied me for a long time. Everything about you is dangerous. That stung, but it wasn't untrue. I was half dragon, yes, but it was the other half that frightened scholars more than any fireborn lineage, the unknown species, the one that left no records, no ruins, no bones, only impressions, whispers, and sometimes voids. Kaler mentioned something, I murmured, remembering his words. He said I was the hinge. What does that mean? Selene's expression tightened. It means he knows too much. Before I could ask further, the air cracked. A sharp, crystalline sound, like glass breaking inside my skull. I staggered, gripping the railing. A line of purple-black light tore through empty space in front of us, thin as a hairline at first, then widening into a small rift. A dimensional fracture, but not one I made. Selene immediately threw up a protective ward, but even the shield trembled as the fracture pulsed. Something moved behind it like a shape pressed against a curtain. Then a voice slipped through, not loud, not even clear. A whispered syllable not entirely meant for mortal lungs. Brass, my heart stopped. Selene grabbed my shoulder. Do not answer. I didn't say anything. You thought loudly, she snapped. The fracture widened another inch. A feminine silhouette pressed against it from the other side, just long enough for me to catch a glimpse. White eyes, hair, or tendrils, hard to tell, the shape of a woman but warped by the dimensional lattice she stood behind. Brass, she whispered again, clearer now. I found you, Selene cursed under her breath. Back inside, now. But I couldn't move. Something about her voice anchored my limbs in place. It struck the deepest part of me, a chord I didn't know existed. Not fear, not desire. Recognition. The fracture pulsed. Dimensional static radiated from it, making my vision blur at the edges. The silhouette leaned forward, pressing one hand against the shimmering tear. Do you remember me? She asked. No, but some part of me did. A memory flashed, so faint it felt like a dream I once lost. A child's hand reaching toward a wide-eyed figure, laughing. Then the memory vanished as quickly as it came. The woman tilted her head, smile soft but wrong. Your power has matured. And you finally started calling out in your sleep. I managed through clenched teeth. I don't know you. But I know you, she whispered. I knew you before your dragon blood was even chosen. Before my what? The fracture began to ripple violently as though reacting to her rising emotion. Selene slammed her staff into the stone. Enough! A shockwave of blue-white mana blasted outward. The fracture shrieked like metal scraping against bone. The silhouette jerked back. Her voice distorted, becoming layered deeper. They cannot protect you from what you are. Selene roared a spell, ancient and burning bright. The fracture snapped shut. Silence crashed down over the balcony, heavy as a tomb lid. I collapsed to my knees. Selene was breathing hard, a tremor in her hands I'd never seen before. That, she said quietly, was not a natural fracture. That was an invitation. I swallowed. My throat felt scraped raw. Who was she? I don't know, Selene said, but she knew you. And Brass, she wasn't speaking from another dimension. I forced myself up. Then from where? Selene looked at me with an expression I had only ever seen once before, true fear. She was speaking from the place your other half comes from. My pulse thundered. She continued, voice low, and that place no longer exists. End of Chapter 4. Chapter 5, Echoes of a Dead Realm. The world settled into a silence so deep it felt carved, an absence of sound rather than a lack of it. Selene stood rigid beside me, gaze fixed on the space where the fracture had sealed shut, as though the very air might split again if she blinked. I swallowed hard. You said that realm is gone. How can someone speak from a place that doesn't exist? Selene didn't answer at first. She pressed a trembling palm against her sternum, trying to steady her breath. Only when she spoke did I realize she was forcing herself to stay calm. Realms do not simply disappear, she said. They erode, collapse, decay into a kind of cosmic noise. Her eyes met mine. But that woman was not an echo, not a ghost. She was present like something that had simply slipped out of a locked door. I felt sick. I know the magical signature, Selene murmured. It was the same I detected in you the day we met. My chest tightened. So she's what, my mother? Selene's expression darkened. No, not a mother, something older, something that predates the very concept of lineage. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I'm certain of. Before I could argue, the Arcanum alarm bell tolled, low, resonant, metallic. Selene flinched. That's the inner spire alarm, she said. Something is happening inside. We ran. The corridors were lit with blue emergency runes that flickered like dying stars. Apprentices scattered out of our way as we reached the main observatory chamber. The sound hit me first, like a roomful of whispering voices layered over grinding metal. Then I saw what caused it. A machine sentinel, one of Omega-7's drones, lay twitching on the floor, half dissected. Its limbs jerked, scraping claws against the marble. The core glowed with a pulsing, unnatural green light. 3 magi stood around it, exhausted, steam rising from their robes. One of them, Elder Rylan, staggered toward us. Selene, he rasped. It came through the walls. Impossible, Selene said. The wards would have. They did nothing. Rylan wiped blood from his brow. It phased through the matter itself, like a ripple. I froze, the fracture, the woman, the seam in reality. It spoke. Another Magus whispered, voice shaking. The machine spoke. Machines always speak, Selene said, but her tone betrayed her nerves. Not like this. The Magus leaned closer to us. It didn't sound mechanical. It sounded like someone whispering inside your skull. All eyes fell to the sentinel. It twitched violently and suddenly went still. Then, in a voice impossibly familiar, it spoke. Brass, every muscle in my body turned to stone. Selene's hand shot out, pushing me behind her as the sentinel's core shifted, its lights flickering from green to a dim purple, matching the fracture's glow. You are not supposed to be here, the machine rasped, its voice layered. This realm is sealed, broken, forgotten. The same voice that had whispered through the fracture, her voice. Who are you? I demanded. The sentinel's head jerked toward me. It took a staggering, puppet-like step. I am the memory of what was lost, it said. And I am the warning of what will return. Selene's staff glowed. Back away from him. The sentinel ignored her, taking another step toward me. Your power woke me, it said to me. The moment you breached reality in your battle with Kaler, the Echo Thread found you. Your blood called out, and I answered. Echo Thread? I echoed. Selene muttered something under her breath, a curse from a language older than magic. The sentinel spoke again, its head twitching like it strained to hold the voice inside. The realm that birthed you was devoured, not by time, not by entropy, a pause, but by itself. The chamber chilled. I tasted ash in my mouth. What does that mean? I whispered. A low, almost human laugh crackled from the sentinel. It means, Brass, that you are not a child of a place. You are a child of a hunger. Selene acted instantly. Her spell struck the drone like a comet, light shredding metal, mana ripping circuitry apart. The sentinel collapsed in a heap of smoking parts, its voice cutting off mid-syllable. Silence returned, but not peace. Selene grabbed my wrist and practically dragged me out of the observatory, her voice low, furious, urgent. That wasn't a message, she hissed. What was it then? A probe, a test. They were trying to see how much of your other half has awakened. My skin crawled. Selene, what am I? She stopped in the hall, turning toward me. Her eyes were wet with real fear. "You are the last fragment of an extinct species," she said. "Not a survivor, a remnant, a spark." I stared at her. "And now that spark is calling the ashes back." My breath caught. "You mean?" "Yes," Selene whispered. "They're coming." End of Chapter 5. Chapter 6. The City That Trembles. News travels fast in the Arcanum Spire. News of fear travels even faster. By morning, every magus in the city had heard. A machine had phased through sealed walls. A cosmic voice had spoken through its circuits. And that voice had spoken my name. Whispers slid through corridors like cold drafts. "He's the cause. Dimensional contamination." "A remnant," Selene said. "A remnant of what? Should he even be allowed to stay here?" I tried to ignore them, but the words lodged under my skin like splinters. Selene didn't sleep either. She summoned me before sunrise to her private scrying chamber, a circular room carved into the top of the spire, where starlight refracted through floating crystals suspended in patterns only she could decipher. She stood before a projection sphere as swirling runes circled around her hands. Her hair, usually bound, hung loose, unkempt. She looked tired, old even. "I've been tracking dimensional stresses," she said as I entered. "And Brass, the fractures are spreading." "How many?" She didn't answer with words. She expanded the projection. Lines of light formed a map of the surrounding regions, our city, nearby territories, the ley line routes beneath us. Small points blinked purple. 27 of them. 27 fractures in one night, my voice caught. "Selene, what if she's trying to come through?" "She can't," Selene said too quickly, too forcefully. "Would take a catastrophic dimensional breach, something monumental." That didn't reassure me at all. I stared at the blinking points. "Why now, why me?" Selene closed the projection, the runes dimmed. "Because you're waking up," she said. I frowned. "My magic." "No." She studied me with that piercing, analytical calm of hers. "You, something in your blood, your other half, it senses the fractures, responds to them. They are resonating with you." I swallowed. "Can it be stopped?" She didn't answer. Before we could continue, another alarm rang, sharp, urgent, citywide, not the spire's alarm. The city S. Selene spun toward the balcony. I followed, leaning over the railing. Below us, the capital city of Thalem was waking to chaos. Smoke rose from the eastern district. Crystalline lampposts flickered erratically. Spells lit the streets as enforcers mobilized. But it was the sky that made my breath stop. A hole, thin, long, and shimmering, cut across the horizon like a tear in painted canvas. "A fracture, a massive one. Someone's feeding it power," Selene snapped. "This isn't random." "Kaler," I muttered. She nodded grimly. "He must think your awakening will destabilize the world, or give him a weapon, or both." She summoned her staff, runes igniting along the length. "You're coming with me," she said. "No arguments." I wasn't going to argue. "Good," her eyes hardened, "because this is going to be ugly." The streets of Thalem was usually a place of calm order, floating gardens, rune-lit streets, grand sky bridges connecting crystalline towers. Today it was a battlefield. Sentinel machines crawled out of fissured alleyways, sleek metallic forms with baleful green eyes. Not dozens, hundreds. Enforcers clashed with them, fire and water spells streaking through the air. From above, Thunder Magi unleashed bolts of lightning that danced across machine hulls. I saw a sentinel phase through a stone wall. Just like the one from the observatory, they were adapting. Selene spoke without looking at me. "Brass, listen carefully." "I'm listening." "Kaler wants the fractures to expand. The machines want something worse." She paused. "But the woman, whatever she is, she wants you." My heart hammered. "Why?" "Because you're a key, maybe a door, maybe both." We pushed through a crowd as enforcers formed lines around us, clearing a path. As we neared the eastern district, the fracture came into clearer view, hanging in the air like a floating scar, edges rippling with purple void light. The air beneath it warped, pulling inward. People screamed as loose debris, carts, even a lamppost lifted off the ground. Dimensional gravity, my specialty, and my nightmare. "Selene," I said, "that thing is going to split open." "I know. If it does?" "Yes, Brass. Everything near it could be pulled into whatever realm lay beyond." Or whatever was left of it. Lightning suddenly cracked through the sky. Kaler descended from the clouds, floating on a disk of swirling red mana. His cloak streamed behind him like a banner. His eyes burned with fanatic purpose. "Selene," his voice boomed across the district. "You protect a threat to the entire world. Step aside, and I will seal the fractures." Selene raised her staff. "Your methods are murder, Kaler." "My methods are survival." His gaze flicked to me. "And he is the extinction." The fracture widened again, shrieking like metal on bone. Something moved inside it. A white eye, Then a hand, my blood turned to ice. Brass, her voice cut through the air, soft but unstoppable. Kaler pointed his staff at me. If I kill him now, the fracture closes. Selene stood in front of me instantly. You'll have to kill me first, Kaler snarled. Gladly. Mana erupted as the three forces collided. Selene's storming white-blue arcana, Kaler's violent red sorcery, the fracture's impossible purple void light. The world trembled, and then something inside me broke open. Not painfully, more like inevitability. I felt my blood ignite, my vision blurred at the edges, the air rippled around me. Selene shouted my name. Kaler's eyes widened. The fracture's eye-bearing silhouette pressed harder against the rift. Yes, she whispered. Wake up, Brass, and I did. I let go of restraint. Dimensional energy erupted from my skin like a sun-going nova. The ground cracked beneath me, stone curling upward like molten wax. Gravity twisted in a spiraling vortex around my form. The fracture responded like a living thing, expanding toward me, reaching. Kaler stumbled back. Selene screamed something I couldn't hear. I felt the woman's voice inside my skull now, soft as silk and deadly as a blade. You are the last of us. Open the way. My power surged again, and for a heartbeat, the fracture and I became one. A single, perfect pulse of shared recognition. And then, a blinding explosion ripped the sky open. Everything turned white. Chapter 7, The Void Within? When the white light finally receded, the world returned in pieces. Sound first, muffled, distant like I was underwater. Then pressure, my own heartbeat pounding against my ribs. Then sight, blurred shapes, the sky smeared into streaks of gray and violet. I sucked in a breath and immediately regretted it. The air tasted like ash and copper. I blinked until the world came into focus. I was lying in a crater. A massive crater nearly 100 feet wide, its edges melted like slag. Purple dimensional residue clung to the stone, flickering like dying embers. Selene stood at the edge, leaning heavily on her staff, her cloak torn and her face ashen. Brass, she whispered. Thank the stars, I tried to speak, but my voice caught. Her expression grew grim. Don't get up. I ignored her and forced myself onto my elbows. That's when I saw it. The sky fracture was gone. But the scar remained, a ragged wound of swirling ether suspended like a ghost image, a place where reality was thinner now, permanently altered. Kaler stood 20 paces away, clutching his arm. Blood ran down his sleeve. His eyes, usually burning with righteous certainty, were wide with terror. He pointed at me, hands shaking. What are you? He hissed. I opened my mouth. No words came out. Selene answered for me. He's still Brass. Kaler laughed, a raw, unhinged sound. No. He's what destroyed that realm you keep whispering about. Selene stiffened. You don't understand what you're saying. I understand perfectly, Kaler spat. He jabbed a finger toward me. I saw it. The moment his power erupted, the fracture answered him. It matched him, it recognized him. His trembling intensified. And then he devoured it. My breath froze in my chest. No, I whispered. I didn't. You did, Kaler snapped. I watched. That light wasn't magic, it was consumption. Dimensional entropy, the same force that erased his species. Stop, Selene thundered, her voice magically amplified. Kaler flinched. Selene stepped into the crater, her boots crunching over cracked stone. You're frightened, I understand that, but your fear is blinding you. Not blind enough, Kaler growled. I saw the truth. Brass isn't a key, he's a breach, a living gateway for something that should never return. His gaze locked with mine. Your other half didn't die with their realm, he said softly. It sleeps inside you waiting, and when it wakes, this world will follow the last one into oblivion. I didn't realize I was shaking until my teeth started to chatter. Selene placed a hand on my shoulder, steadying me. Brass, don't listen to him. But I had listened, and worse, part of me believed him. The crater pulsed faintly beneath us, as if echoing the last remnants of whatever power had erupted from me. I swallowed hard. Selene, what did I really do? She opened her mouth, hesitated. Tell me, I said more firmly. Please, her jaw tightened. You didn't consume the fracture, you closed it, but not in a normal way. What do you mean? I pressed. You didn't seal the rift, she murmured. You absorbed it. The chill in my bones spread into my lungs. I didn't mean to, I know, she said quickly. It was instinct, your body reacting to catastrophic dimensional stress. You did what you had to do to survive. Kaler scoffed. Yes, survive. Doom the rest of us. Selene whipped toward him. If you say one more word, kill me if you want, Kaler snarled. It won't change the truth. He raised his staff, summoning a red vortex of crackling energy. I will not let him end this world. Selene immediately threw a barrier between us. Kaler, stop! He didn't listen. Lightning split the air, spiraling toward me. Seleni's shield caught the blow, but the force of the impact reverberated through the crater. Debris flew. Dust choked the air. Kaler shouted over the roar, "Either he dies now or the entire world dies with him." Something shifted behind us. A ripple, a hum, a presence. The crater darkened as a shadow stretched across the ground, not from the sun, but from a shape forming in midair. A fracture opened, not wide, not stable, just enough for a silhouette to lean through. White eyes glowed in the darkness. "Brass," her voice stroked across my mind like silk drawn over a blade. Seleni's barrier faltered. Kaler stumbled backward. She spoke with gentle certainty. "You cannot run from what you are." I felt something inside me stir, a deep, slow pulse of recognition answering her call. No, no, not again. I clutched my head as the pulse grew louder, resonating in my bones. Kaler shouted something, Selene too, but their voices blurred into static. The woman's voice filled my consciousness. "You closed the fracture because you were made to. You devour what stands between realms. You are the last of the Eversunder." Eversunder. The word punched through me like cold fire. "Yes," she whispered, smiling through the rift. "A species born not to travel worlds, but to unmake the walls between them." "No," I gasped, "that's not me." Her white eyes softened with something like pity. "It will be." Selene grabbed my arm. "Brass, listen to me. Stay with me, don't let her in." Kaler raised his staff again, desperate. "Selene, move, I'll finish this." The rift woman's smile widened, sharp as a fracture line spreading across glass. "You cannot kill him, Kaler." Her voice curled around him like frost. "He is already becoming what he was always meant to be." The crater vibrated with dimensional static. The rift widened another inch. And then a shockwave blasted outward. My vision went black. My last sensation was falling through worlds that no longer exist. Chapter 8, Ashes Between Worlds. When I opened my eyes again, the world was dust and steel. A low purple hum filled my ears, the walls shimmering as though they were made of breath. I lay on a cold grated floor with nothing under me but darkness below a glowing void. The air smelled of ozone and burnt ozone, electrical and ancient. I tried to rise, but pain carved across my limbs. My vision blurred. A lens of pale blue stared down at me. It was a single eye, mechanical, unblinking. I squinted. The body attached to the eye was tall, humanoid in shape, but not human. Plates of black metal formed its chassis, blue, arcane logic sigils crawled across its surface. Its frame cast a long, distorted shadow in the wavering lights. "Subject, Brass," it said. Its voice was calm, cold, and buzzing at once. "Dimensional destabilization detected. Containment protocols engaged." Containment. The word struck something in me, not fear, but rage. I pushed myself up. Pain flared, but I forced myself to stay conscious. "Where am I?" I croaked, voice rough, alien. The machine, it did not answer. Instead, panels on its forearm slid open, tendrils of silver-blue cables snaked out, humming with energy. I staggered to my feet. Magic roared beneath my skin, hot and violent. Dimensional resonance flared like a star going nova inside me. I roared back, a sound half dragon, half something unborn, and thrust a wave of energy outward. Reality around the metal sentinel buckled, the grated floor bent, then snapped, as though the world itself recoiled. But the sentinel did not fall. It raised a hand and the tendrils retracted. "Impressive," it said. "Containment field 48% stable. Threat management initiated." A growl rose from my chest, something old, hungry, cosmic. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could form a word, the floor beneath me dissolved in a blot of violet light. I fell. I landed again, this time on cold metal, but with a ceiling above me that stretched into darkness. The sound was different here. Distant echoes like machines awakening in iron wombs. The air vibrated with 1,000 small pulses of logic, each humming along a frequency I recognized. The same frequency that had resonated within me the first night I touched the scale. I lurched to my feet. The world swayed. My vision swam. I coughed. My lungs burned. I realized I was inside a vast ship, a fortress cradled in empty space. Outside the viewports, stars smeared by speed, and behind them countless razor-thin starships formed a lattice of silent observation. "Hostile entity detected," a voice said through unseen speakers, cold, detached. "Subject, Brass, vital signs unstable." Instinct drove me forward, though I didn't know where I ran. The corridors were labyrinthine, windows that bled cosmic starlight, halls that glowed with muted bluish runes. I sensed I was being guided, not by my body, but by something deeper. I rounded a curved corridor and came to a giant chamber. At its center, a ring of hovering panels projected schematics, worlds, dimensions, ley lines, rifts. My world was among them, small, fragile, a mote in a cosmic grid. I swallowed. My throat was raw. A door opened behind me with a hiss. Figures stepped forward, tall, hooded, shrouded in robes embroidered with shifting sigils of starlight. Their faces hidden, their posture calm, one spoke, voice gentle but layered, human and undulating like a wave in deep water. "Welcome, Riftborn," she said. "Your awakening has been long anticipated." "Who are you?" I rasped. "What have you done to me?" She lifted a hand. The runes on her robe glowed. "We saved you from the collapse," she said, "from the destruction that consumed your home realm and would soon consume your flesh." I laughed bitter, a ragged sound. "Saved me? I don't feel saved." "Not yet," she answered, "but you will understand. First, you must remember." She gestured and the room darkened. The floating panels dissolved. The lights dimmed and a single spotlight illuminated a crystalline mirror that rose before me like a shard of night. I resisted, but the sight glowed, pulling. Memories surged, a world of silver towers and floating gardens under benign starlight. A woman with eyes of white flame, whispering promises of secrets beyond the stars. The sudden tear in the sky. Spiraling horror of the breach. The machines, the hunger, and then oblivion. A collapse, light-devouring memory, bones unmaking, and in the void a vow, "We will remember," I gasped. The pain, the shame, the longing all flooded back. When the mirror shattered, I staggered backwards, hands clutching at phantom echoes inside me. The robed woman tilted her head, expression inscrutable. "You are a Versunder," she said quietly. "The last, the bridge between the finite and the infinite, the spark between flesh and void." I closed my eyes. Reality threatened to unravel again. "Why me?" My voice was barely more than a confession. "Because you lived," she said simply. "Because in the collapse only a seed remained, a seed bound to the core of dimensional memory." She paused. "We have called you back." I raised a hand, trembling. "Back to what?" Her robe stirred as though moved by wind. "Back to your purpose. Back to the paths between worlds, back to the Watch." "Watch," I repeated. The word tasted bitter. She nodded. "We, the Keepers, the ones who observed the rise and fall of worlds. We preserved shards of memory so that when the time came, you would return." "Return?" The word echoed hollow in my chest. A new sound thundered through the ship, alarms heavy and urgent. "Containment breach," a mechanical voice announced. "Subject classification, Riftborn." The robed woman's face hardened. "They sealed the fractures to hide their crimes," she whispered. "Ignored the warnings until the scheme collapsed." Her glance shifted to me, stern but calm. "They feared what you are, we did not." I swallowed. "Why now?" "Because the machine stirred." The woman's cloak twined around her as runes glowed brighter. "Because the world above still burns with the same sickness. And because only you, only Riftborn, can bind the breach, not by sealing, but by merging, by remembering, by becoming the bridge." "Becoming?" I echoed. "Yes," she said. "You will come to know the architecture of breaking and creation. You will walk through the void fully you, or you will break and be forgotten." I closed my eyes. Images flickered, my comrades, the city of Thalem, Seleni's face of fear and sorrow, Kaler's betrayal and hatred, the crater, the fracture, the Riftwoman's whisper. I clenched my fists. My blood still hummed with pain, fire and void tangled together like dying vines. I exhaled slowly. The echo of rage, grief, confusion, and something else, acceptance. "I will learn." The robed woman nodded. "Good. Then rise, Riftborn, your path begins." Around us, the ship's lights dimmed further, and a single door slid open at the chamber's far wall. Behind it lay a corridor bathed in pale starlight. As I stepped toward it, I felt the weight of destiny settle over me. For the first time, I wondered not who I was, but what I would become. And as the door closed behind me, the first step into that future resonated across thousands of worlds I had never seen.